BitShares is a world-class blockchain like Bitcoin with a digital currency platform boasting enterprise-level scalability and throughput with separations of power and self-governance baked in. Need the power of a blockchain with the stability of a dollar? We invented it and tested it for 3 years. Want to make a loyalty token, coupon, or shares in your business? We have you covered. Wish to add world-class development? This tech can fund your work. Whether for an everyday entrepreneur or computer-savvy code guru, BitShares provides tools to empower a world of unapologetic innovators to wield and share value with a level of freedom once thought impossible. Meet a community of such innovators every Friday at 2 p.m. UTC, led by Chris Herring and Fuzzy, to play a role in the evolution and advancement of this state-of-the-art project. Welcome to the BitShares revolution. You just leveled up. Welcome everyone to another BitShares open source hangout. Today is Friday, June 30th, 2017. We're joined on the Beyond Bitcoin network every week to talk about various issues that are going on in the crypto ecosystem, but this BitShares hangout specifically is going to be directly focusing more and more on BSIPs, worker proposals, and maybe get into the current events as a secondary or a side aspect. From there, we're going to be trying to drive and focus these hangouts into getting people who want to build and utilize what has been built in the BitShares ecosystem and start actually contributing and getting paid from the worker proposal funds that we have. Because due to substantial increases in BitShares market cap and the public perception of BitShares in the face of some of the problems with Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies that are coming up, we are now starting to see a huge amount of funding that we have offered that we can put into proposals to maintain, build, and even improve upon the current BitShares eco. So with that said, we would like to provide a transparent means by which those who want to have worker proposals and those who have proxy can show their proxies and can show the public who holds BitShares that they are interested in working for BitShares, because the blockchain is now hiring. Now, with that said, we join up every week and we go through a BitShares Hangout thread that I post to steemit.com. And I always add the BitShares tag, so you can always scroll through the BitShares tag on there and find the BitShares open source Hangouts. And if you have yourself a worker proposal or BitShares improvement project, which is called a BSIP, or you know somebody who does, please reach out to them and let them know about this new hangout that we're doing to kind of put on display those who want to build and offer value to the network, because we have a lot of value to give in return. Now, with that said, we have our open source agenda for this week, as determined by the people who posted, is Talkinator, who's going to be talking about a worker proposal for a maintenance worker, which is very important. CM Steam is going to be bringing up the Hertz asset and BitShares UI customization guide, and he also has a BSIP that he would like to talk about, BSIP 0019, I believe. Then I'm going to be, Official Fuzzy, I'm going to be talking about a potential of a proxy campaign, worker proposal website, and a CMC ad that I reached out about this week. And if we have time after those three, we're going to go ahead and we will talk a little bit about Siddhartha, who brought up the current value proposition for affiliate marketers and potential changes to the LTM program that might make it better for getting referrals from people who are not lifetime members. So with that said, I'll go ahead and I'll ask Talkinator, are you ready to talk about your proposal a little bit?
Sure, happy to.
Okay, well then I'm going to go ahead and step back and let you do your thing. And of course, if you need any input or anything, feel free to ask the community and myself.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to discuss what I think is, based on the sequence that I started with last week, what I think is the second highest important thing to be working on for the community, which I think is a general maintenance worker to address open issues, any new issues that might arise, and also any medium to lower priority issues that are queued up and are not necessarily showstoppers, but which are features which have been requested by members of the community. And specifically, this general type of worker can often be a little bit hard to identify what the worker is working on, but I really believe it is an essential role that is needed by the community just to consider the project to be maintained and to be considered alive, I think. So what I proposed were highlighted approximately 2 to 4 responsibilities that I think this worker should have. And this overlaps really also with a worker that we have had for many months, most recently by Vikram, and which at the moment that worker more or less expired and or was voted out. And so I think these are highlighting very much the same responsibilities that this worker used to have. So I've highlighted them as follows. Item 1 is to review the submitted issues on GitHub. Number 2 is to work on any known high priority bugs or issues. And then below that, at lower priorities, and possibly to delegate, possibly to be assigned to other workers, but at the moment it could be included here as well, would be to add additional unit tests to features that are already existing, and also to work on new features. But really the two highest responsibilities as I see it are to review the submitted issues and to work on known high priority bugs. And just to elaborate a little bit further, there are, I think, the possibility and probability for actually 2 workers of this type. One working on the back end on the core, and another person, at least one other person working on the front end on the web GUI. And I did highlight, for example, if anyone is interested, that the number of open issues and pull requests that are available for both of those categories of work. And there is, so before I talk about, there was actually coincidentally Ox Arbitrage, or Alfredo, he actually submitted a work proposal related to that, and we can discuss that in a moment. But I think before we talk about who might execute these workers, I'd like to just open it up to everybody and just to discuss the what do people think about having such a worker.
I fully support it.
Agreed. I can go further into it, but does anybody else have any opinions?
I think we definitely need 2 workers for the front end and back end, as you've outlined, Talkinator.
Cool. Any objections?
No real objections. I mean, maintenance worker is kind of, like you said, it's unglamorous. It's something that not everybody is aware of. They think that it just, that the chain will exist without any person to maintain it, but there's got to be maintenance, right? There's going to be things that are going to change, and something that needs to be very well aware of.
We also, it may be difficult to convince the community this is necessary, but like you said, Talkinator, I think you pointed out the very real fact that if we don't have this type of worker going on, then some people will consider a project dead. So it's essential, and we've gotten by without it for a long time, only because of a lack of support. But I think there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to get support for these types of things now.
Yeah, I hope so, because I think even to overlook a maintenance worker and just perhaps focus on new features or functionality is a problem, because let's say we have new features that are added in, possibly by other workers. Something is going to go wrong, and somebody needs to support it either by communicating with end users or by actually addressing problems that have been identified by the end users, and that needs to be supported in some way. And I think this maintenance worker can do it. And in some ways, I think it's a rather difficult position, because in many cases, the maintenance worker will be receiving complaints all the time, 1, and 2, addressing issues which, when they're fixed, is just makes things work and is not necessarily obvious the work that has gone into it, nor the difficulty just to just to fix things as well.
Do you foresee this being something where it's a position where, like, how do you see the worker proposal going as far as the payouts? I would assume it would be like a monthly payout or something like that over the course of a year, and then reassessing every year.
I think probably on some sort of periodic basis is reasonable. That way, it gives an opportunity to stakeholders to once again to try to assess the performance of the worker. I mean, whoever that might be.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it would be wonderful to be able to bring them on and let them kind of give an update on these types of things in these Hangouts, and then maybe the people who are going out and voting and acting as proxy, they'll listen to the Hangout and they'll hear it and they'll go look for it, or they'll reach out to their own proxies and say, hey, please vote for this. I didn't know about it otherwise. Might be something to think about. And it also shows, all the life that's teeming under the surface of this little pond here that has become an ocean.
Yeah.
I agree. I'd like to echo what Fuzzy just said, because we just had this recent problem with block pay, for instance. And one of the things that actually helps is when people are approachable by audio or otherwise. So this maintenance worker it's kind of a trusted due diligence type position that he's doing on behalf of the community. So regular reporting and community participation, especially in this radio show, I would add to that.
Mm-hmm. And assuming, of course, that such a worker is comfortable in speaking in English, since our talk tends to be in English.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
So I think related to that is, by coincidence, there was also Ox or Alfredo, who actually posted a worker proposal, which I think overlaps a lot with what I'm describing here for a maintenance worker on the back end on the core. And so he posted actually his worker proposal, and a description is appearing here on the chat log as well. So if anybody subsequently is attempting to find this, it'll be. It can be found both on the forums, on the BitShares Talk forums, and also on GitHub as well. And there's a link here that is posted here just directly to the description of the tasks and responsibilities that the worker would have. So, and also related in IntelliGuide to what you just posted, he also described his form of payment. So I think this would be a period of approximately 6 months, and the pay rate was specified in BitUSD, if I remember correctly, and would go through an escrow as a form of a cross-check on his performance. Now, if Ox, I believe, is around, and if he would like to chat, perhaps he can chime in, perhaps to elaborate. Are you available?
We kind of hear you, Ox Arbitrage. It sounds like your mic might not be plugged in right, or you might have your keys, your push to talk key isn't. Or do you have it where it's set for push to talk, or is it just picking up your voice whenever you talk? I saw it too. Okay, let's go ahead and just move on talking. I don't think he can talk at this point.
Sure. And I'm just going to highlight the few bullet points. He has an extensive write-up of what he's talking about, and I'm going to just talk about briefly the highlights of what he mentions. Number one, he was talking about addressing GitHub issues. Number two, he was also working on some of the improvement proposals. Number three, to work on client-side applications and the Explorer, which he has been working on as well. Number four, help and documentation. Number five, hard fork planning. And number six, basic maintenance. And so those are the categories of activities that he could work on, and depending just on priorities. And so I think this overlaps a lot with what I was suggesting as maintenance worker, and perhaps maybe it actually even goes beyond that as well. So that would be up for anybody to review, and is currently an active proposal that anybody can review on their own.
By the way, this doesn't really derail per se, but I don't want to get into depth on it. But I did notice in the Telegram channel over the last week or so that Roadscape has, maybe it was on the forum, I'm not sure where, to be honest with you, but recently Roadscape came and inquired of the community whether he was under consideration, or whether people would be willing to support his continued work with his CryptoFresh Block Explorer. So I know he's got a huge amount of experience doing that, and I haven't had a chance to really review in detail that thread where I saw him asking these questions. If others have, I think that would be also a valid thing to consider. I know the work that Alfredo's been doing in regards to the Block Explorer is excellent. It's moving along at kind of a slow pace, but that's fine. I don't see any problem with that. I'm just wondering whether we might want to split some of that work or have a cooperation of that work between these two people.
Yeah, that's a good point. If I remember correctly, I think Roadscape was asking for, if I remember correctly, that his witness had fallen out of support as a witness without sufficient votes. And I think he was asking for consideration to be voted back in as a witness in order to support his work on CryptoFresh.
Can you hear me, guys?
Oh, yes, hear you.
Thank you. Sorry, guys.
Good to hear you.
I had some problems.
Yeah, if you'd like to go ahead.
That's my make works.
Yeah. Taconator, you just described it. What I think is the most essential things to do in the BitShares core. I mean, after the big RAM worker expired, and I had a worker too with BitShare Munich that also expired, and it's very important to be after these GitHub issues and new features and keep the business going, because if you are very slow in the issues, then like most people will think the project is dead.
Yeah, I agree.
And well, yeah, I pretty much described it all I want to do in the next 6 months period in that proposal. And
you keep cutting out from time to time. You might have a loose connection or something like that.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So as Taconator said, I think we need at least one person also, because there is a lot of work to be done in here. And at least one person more will be great. But in the meantime, at least one worker will be doing all it can to keep this updated.
And the additional worker that you see, is that on the back end and or the front end?
Well, I think for the front end, the guy is Sivek. There is no other option for me there. But in the back end, I think we could need one more person doing full-time or part-time or whatever.
Okay.
I actually wanted to make a team with the developers that in the Telegram group, but then that's kind of go against what worker proposal should be. So I finally made my own, and I'm testing the waters here and see what's up.
Sounds good. And also, just to disclose to everybody who might be listening, I am a fan of Alfredo's work. So, but hopefully, I think his work stands on his own for everybody else to review.
Yeah, you're right in that talking.
He's done a very good job. I approve as well.
Thank you, guys. I think it's really very important, and I love to be working here. I'm very hard worker, very honest, and love to be here. So that is why my proposal is there, and for everyone to vote. I would love to be here for actually the rest of my life, but 6 months will be good.
That's a good start, I guess.
Could you explain a little about the multi-sig or the escrow portion of your worker proposal?
Yeah, sure. That I copied mostly from Xerox worker proposal, because it's the only way you have to submit a worker proposal in BitUSD. And as you know, before the worker proposal were in BitShares, and at the price went very up, there started to be a lot of speculation, and the shareholder actually cut it down the votes because it was too much money. So with this way, you can get the money in dollars, and there is a secure way that you have to make a multi-sig account. You have to spend actually some good amount of money to make it, because you need a lifetime memberships user, and it costs around $500 just to post this worker proposal. But it's the only way to do it, and maybe one of the features I can be working on is an easier way to do worker proposals in BitUSD.
I'll say this.
Thank you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to interrupt real quick, because you brought up the point that, and I think this is very pertinent, you brought up the point of the barriers to pay for a worker proposal, to pay to be able to have a chance to work. Seems like a very big step. And a lot of people who are looking for work, they kind of say, well, then I'm just going to move on to the next one. So I'm very much for trying to figure out a way around that. But in the interim, while we don't have that, since Steam is planning on using the code from the BitShares decks to do stuff for themselves, I have no problem using some of the stake that I have in that ecosystem to help you guys leverage by posting your worker proposals to the Beyond Bitcoin tag and the BitShares tag. And then I will upvote the ones that I think are really good, and Talkinator will be helping me to do that. I believe. Maybe I shouldn't say that until I ask him for sure, but I believe that he's interested in helping me do that, so it might be him as well. But I will definitely pay out to things that you guys work on to help you guys get the funding to at least put up a work proposal, because I understand both the reason why there's a barrier there where you have to pay, but I also am aware that it's very difficult. And in the interim, until we find a better solution, even if people are complaining about me using Steam funds for this, they're using technology we've been building to add on a DEX for themselves. So I have no qualms, and I don't think that anybody here, feel free to let me know, would have any qualms with me utilizing my resources in such a way. So just keep that open as an option. I would like to just let you know.
Getting back to the escrow and approach that you're taking, X Arbitrage, I think that the Xerox approach has proven itself well and good. Who would be the other parties in the multi-sig approach to that?
By now I have Xerox and Civic, but I get a few more. I think with 4 or 5 it's okay, and it is not any work for the escrow. I think just from time to time have to release the money to the worker, but it's something that don't take too much time, so I guess I can get pretty easy 2 more. Maybe someone in here can help me with that.
Thank you.
And it's not very easy to do a worker proposal, and you have to put money, and that can be a barrier from outsiders to actually. I don't know if the idea is to block outsiders or if it should be easier. If we want to attract more workers, it should be easier.
I think the difficulty has been for the committee in setting these fees that the market cap has risen so high that it's difficult to keep on top of it. But it does seem, though, that in the last month we haven't had a huge increase. We had more of a drop in the last month than an increase, and so it's kind of surprising that it would be that high. Given that I'm not sure when they reviewed the fees last, whether it was just before this most recent rise or not. But at any rate, it does seem to be rather high, and I'm not sure what the reasonings are for the setting at the value it is now.
Okay, thanks.
IntelliGuy brings up a good point. He said it needs to be expensive so we don't have 200 or 300 worker proposals to go through all the time. It does make sense that we don't want to have too many people coming in just saying, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and not doing it. I'll get a little bit into that on my portion. But Oversight's really important. When I asked X Arbitrage about the multi-sig participants, and he said that there isn't a lot that they need to do. Actually, it's an important role, the escrow aspect, because if we're going to have a good governance model, we're going to have some oversight, and they would be the parties that would be the oversight in part. I don't think that they should have the full responsibility of that. The full responsibility should be the shareholders, but they're the ones that release the money. So by definition, they're the ones that have the direct line of oversight. So they do have a role in that to play, but they should be attentive to the shareholders in doing that role.
Yeah, definitely. And one last thing in regard to reports, I plan to actually make weekly reports into the forum. If needed, I would love to come here and talk with you guys about anything related I'm working on. And in all the channels, I want to be totally help each other. And I think one of the problems with shares is that there is no much communication. For example, I submit this worker proposal, and I don't have much idea if it will be voted in or not. Nobody knows who is who decides who, all that. And in the project the same. I was working in the Explorer, and we need to communicate better to actually, we can't have 2 persons making the same stuff. That actually don't have any sense, and we need to talk more, I think, between the people working in BitShares.
I think I'd like to encourage you to use the Steam channel as well for your weekly reports. Not only can you reach the community there, but you can get paid for doing so. It's a matter of getting some payment for your time.
Yeah, definitely. Why not?
Yeah, and we're also in a pretty good position where, because of BitShares, Steam exists. And because of Steam existing because of BitShares. A lot of people who are in the Steam ecosystem are also in the BitShares team and have been here from day one. So they understand the potential synergy between chains. And I actually am one of the people who loves synergistic potential, because if we have people who are logging themselves on the blockchain and showing what they're doing at the same time promoting BitShares and using Steam, it makes both of these chains stronger, and it helps us to overcome some of these barriers that might be currently existing in the BitShares ecosystem while we try to figure those things out. But yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up, Tom.
I definitely agree with you in that, Fusi, because from a technology point of view, Steam is very similar to BitShares, and it's actually an improvement version of BitShares. And in regards to EOS, it's still the same thing. So the three chains are absolutely related.
Yeah.
One thing that just pops into my mind when we're talking about the synergy between the two chains, between Steam and what have you, is have you had any opportunity or desire to look into the code base of Pure Plays or Steam, primarily Pure Plays because it's closer to BitShares than Steam is, for the profit sharing? And this might be something that will bridge into the discussion that Custominer will have up shortly.
Yeah,
So,
maybe he could talk about that actually during that time, because we're running a little bit behind. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Is that okay with you, Ox? You gonna be here? Okay, you're gonna be here in 8 to 10 minutes. Sounds good. CM Steam will be next, but Taco, do you have anything that you would like to bring up about this or mention before we close this segment off?
No, thank you. I think I'm good to move on.
Okay, well, thank you very much for bringing it up, and I want to just say thank you to everybody who's thinking about these things, because we're getting to a point where improving these processes is going to be very important. Now that we have the funding, we need to use it, and using that funding is just going to make us more funding, so it's imperative we do it. With that said, CM Steam is going to be talking about Hertz asset and BitShares UI customization, but he also has the BSIP 0019, which is regarding the dividends payouts. So I'll go ahead and I'll ask CM Steam, are you available to stand up and talk a little bit about this?
Hey, yeah. So I'll give an update on Hertz, my BSIP, and the UI stuff I've been doing. So first off with Hertz. So Hertz was inspired by Hero. So it's an algorithm-based asset. So it's basically, there's a formula behind it, modifying the feed price. So it predictably oscillates the price feed using like a sine wave. Thus we create phases of buying and selling pressure constantly back and forth forever. So it's this concept that I've got a BitShares talk thread up on it. But with regards to the updates regarding it, there was a poll basically saying, what reference asset should we go for the first Hertz asset, and USD is currently winning that. So if it's a successful token or project in the end, we'll probably look into additional Hertz tokens, like for different reference assets, different frequencies and amplitudes. So the idea is that, say, the current one is like a month is where the full oscillation takes place, and there's like 100% difference in terms of amplitude. So, you could buy in at like a half and then sell at 1.5 like later in the month, so it's pretty cool.
That's very good.
Yeah, I've created a minimized reference Haskell price feed script. So originally the price feed script I created was it was very bloaty. I had like scraped CryptoFresh and stuff. So now it's only like 50 lines, including comments, and you can put in variables from the command line, so you can test out your own Hertz asset idea with different amplitudes and variables and stuff. With regards to the existing Python price feed scripts, so Wacko has responded to the price feed script issue I created on his repo. He's interested in the idea, however he's quite busy with the Pure Plays launch, so I'm looking to get back in contact with him in the future if Pure Plays launch goes well. And I'm still waiting to hear back from Xerox regarding Hertz integration into his price feed scripts. He's understandably a very busy individual though, so does anyone have any questions regarding the idea of Hertz before we move on?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I didn't realize that you had this this oscillate, this sine wave kind of approach to it, and it makes a lot of sense. It could stimulate a lot of trading going on. So if that's the goal, I think it's a great idea. I never really saw it in that light before. I saw it as more of an opposite of Hero, but it's not. It's a totally different animal. Even though it's an algorithm-based approach, it's still quite different from Hero, and I like the idea behind it. Sounds great.
Yeah, the only part of it that is, that might be an issue is that the very peak and the very trough. Who would sell at the very bottom? Who would buy at the very top? I mean, at these points, it would be probably the most liquid in certain directions. At the very bottom, people are trying to buy as much. So if you had previously bought at a half, that would be a period of extreme liquidity, people buying in. And at the top, people would be trying to sell. So you could, buy it really easily, So I don't know, it's theoretical, but it sounds pretty cool, in my opinion.
And one other question that I had for you is, if I understood correctly with the asset, it is currently configured in a way so that only witnesses can post a price feed. And just want you to be aware of that. And if that was a choice you like, that's fine. But I think if that is correct, in contrast, the Hero allows even non-witnesses to post a price feed.
I know that you can enable the committee to submit it, and I think you can do like a private kind of like publishing. Like if I was to personally, publish the feeds, but if the public can do it, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, with regard to who can publish price feeds, you're right, Talkinator. Hero isn't something that's restricted to the witnesses. However, it does have the people that can post price feeds for the Hero are approved by a committee, if you will, or approved by Stan or Xerox, I think is the delegated for it. So there is oversight with who, because you don't want just anybody posting a price feed because you don't know whether it will be reliable. So I think that's an important consideration.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Tom. That's right. The current publishers of price feeds for Hero have to be whitelisted by somebody.
Cool. I'll definitely look into that. But, hopefully in the future, when we get the price feed scripts enabled, we'll be able to have multiple of these Hertz assets, just changing a couple variables in the price feed script, line. And, hopefully it should increase the trading volume on the BTS DEX.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting.
So moving on, unless anyone has anything to ask about Hertz. All right, cool. So with regards to I created a BSIP 19, which is the introducing of profit sharing / dividends to BitShares, specifically for MPAs, market pegged assets only. So I spoke last during the 25th Hangout regarding the creating and funding of BSIPs and worker proposals, and about my own personal laziness in documenting, my own ideas for BSIPs. So I took a week and a half to write up a couple BSIPs, and I published a draft version of this 19th BSIP. So, it is a draft version. I've published it to Steam it. It's on the BitShares BSIP GitHub repo. I'd really appreciate as much input as possible. I've already got some input regarding, the blacklisting of accounts so that, exchanges don't get dividends. That's something I got to update, but I would really appreciate any input on this topic,
Yeah, that's really great that you wrote that up. I'm going to have to review that. Thank you.
Can I ask just a quick question? What is the difference for you? Because you made the distinction that this is just for MPAs. Why just for MPAs? And is there a technical reason?
Well, I felt like, there were different... I split it into two BSIPs, so I will be creating a separate BSIP specifically for user-issued assets, and it was because there's different... I don't know, I mean, there is just splitting it so it's less complex, so you're not, trying to think of how it would apply to MPAs, and then in comes, some, really custom, crazy ideas that you could implement with user-issued assets, It's just basically making it simpler and focusing it on MPAs, and then I'll be doing one on user-issued assets, and it will show the difference between the two,
Yeah, okay, so there is difference.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to split them out. I think they're really quite different animals, so I think you're right that splitting them out is probably a better approach. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean, the MPAs, the dividends or profit sharing would work on the basis of the redistribution of, market fees. So currently, 80% goes towards the referrers or referral system. So I'm proposing that the fees are set by like the committee, so that they could reduce the referral fees to like say 60% or whatever. It's up to the committee, and that 20% would then go towards the dividends mechanism, whereas the user issued assets could work on the basis of the redistribution of the fees if there was a fee market enabled in that user issued asset, or on the basis of the issuance of additionally issued tokens. So say making the supply of the user issued asset greater and then distributing those new tokens against the holders of the user issued assets, whereas that's not possible for market pegged assets,
By the way,
that's a good distinction.
By the way, would you be the one that would be implementing this if the BSIP is approved, Custom Miner?
No, I'm just writing up the documentation, the specs and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I don't have the skills to implement it. So, I'm just a documentation guy,
Well, you've done a good job on that end. I'll give you that. You're a good thinker, and that's a lot of what is required of the BSIP. So, do you have anybody in mind that you've identified that might be a candidate, or is that something that's out of scope for what you've tried to do?
Personally, currently out of scope. A lot of the work has already been implemented partially by the Peer Plays, development team. They've multiple times said that use the profit sharing code that we've previously implemented. So at least there's like part of the work has been done, so it's not like we're starting from absolute scratch.
That's good. That's very good.
I can work on it. I would love to do it, actually.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, it's a really nice idea. Actually, one of the things BitShares 1.0, I think one of the main features was something like this.
Yeah, most certainly that's the inspiration. It was like back in BTSX, it was the idea that I can get more interest on my USD than my local bank was providing, which I think was one of the main reasons we were quite high in market cap. And then after the removal of that feature, without the replacement of an income stream for asset holders, we saw the dip in the price for a year or two or something. So yeah,
I think that's Go ahead, Arbitrage.
Will bring more long-term holders. That is awesome, because I think this needs to have a longer, I want to hold BitShares for my retirement. So I like business to be long-term, and this will help a lot.
That was a major feature that the interest on bit assets back in the BitShares X days. Missing that in the BitShares 2.0 days, in my view, was a very big oversight, and I'm sure there's probably good reasons for it. But the point is that it was a major marketing change to do that, because we had a huge part of our campaigning and our marketing was to earn interest, be your own bank, and all that, and that went away with 2.0. So I think it's extremely important that we bring this back, and we do it in a way that doesn't allow for the yield harvesting that was inherently a major flaw and probably the biggest reason for why they decided not to re-implement it. But I think this approach that you're outlining, Custom Miner, is a perfect way to get around that yield harvesting problem and provide the feature that people were so clamorous for wanting in the past.
This is a place where I think we can also, I hate to cut in Custom Miner. If you have something to say, go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say real quick, this is a place where we can learn a lot, I think, from Steam in terms of the voting power and how Steam power works. I remember a while before Steam ever existed, Bytemaster brought up the idea. What if we force people to kind of lock their money up and show that they are going to be long-term holders to get voting power? I think that that's one of the best innovation that has come from our history and what we've learned. And it's showing right now that if you lock away those tokens and now you're earning interest on them in some way, shape, or form, whether it's curation rewards or just because you loaded them up and locked them up and said, I'm not going, and promised the chain pretty much, I'm not planning on dumping these anytime soon, and show the public that too. I think if we were to do something like that, it might help with a lot of this stuff too, or just something to think about in the future. It's a big topic, and but it does directly touch into this.
Definitely.
Cool idea. So I'll just give a shout out to a couple of the other BSIPs that I'm working on. So the user issued asset profit sharing idea was one I'm working on, but it's still very much a draft. And the other idea was reducing the cost of witness price feed publishing fees, so as to enable high frequency price feed updates on the BitShares DEX. So if we were to go for a really high frequency Hertz token, then that's an area where we would want to see witnesses being able to publish without having to worry about losing all their funds effectively. So that's way more a draft version. It's just an idea I've got. But moving on to my final part is regarding BitShares UI customization. So I created a guide on Steemit after Fuzzy contacted me on Telegram regarding potential development of customized web wallets. So previously I had customized the BitShares web wallet for Gridcoin, and I had pretty much forgotten how I had gone about doing it. So I created a guide on basically how to edit the header, the footer, the index, how to change all the market, the trading pairs, on the index and on the exchange page and stuff, and how to theme the client. So I think it's a good way to get new users interested and remove the initial research that users have to do. Or where do I go to edit this or that? That's no longer a roadblock potentially. I think it'd be pretty cool to be able to have like a theme contest, and see another couple dozen skins or themes added to the BitShares client, or hopefully with this, if a new cryptocurrency gets a bridge onto the BTS DEX, that they will go ahead and create their own web wallet that's customized for their community.
That's a very, very important thing that you've done there, Custom Miner, as far as documenting how you would edit the user interface code to accomplish those things. Where is that information published? That's something that should be part of the core documentation, because that will help developers and anybody else. So I think that's extremely important, and I'd love to review that.
It's currently on Steemit, and I've got a GitHub repo, but we could potentially merge it into the existing BitShares documentation. It's still very much a draft, and it does need some input on what to improve or if I've missed anything out.
Oh, good point. Good call. Sorry, Custom. No, I think that you hit it on the head, but I will say this. I'm going to chime in and say that he and I both apparently at this dang near the same time put in his link. I would ask everybody, if you guys think that this is valuable, go re-Steem it. Get on Steemit. Steemit was built because of us, because of all the things that we've done and the people who are part of the BitShares community have been busting their butts doing. Without BitShares, Steem couldn't have existed. So I have no qualms with us leveraging what we have, because we're trying to help Steem and all these other graphene chains and like Peer Plays, and EOS is going to be coming out. We've got all these different things that we care about and we were working on, and we see synergy. So use this stuff and support people, because just a re-Steem or 50 cents here and there from all of you guys can be a lot. But if you're a whale, consider following Custom Miner on there. He's CM-Steem, and consider supporting him, because he does all this stuff. He was doing all this stuff when he wasn't getting paid anything hardly, and he keeps doing it. So you know how I feel about that, and you know what I'm going to do, Custom Miner. You're always going to get my support, buddy.
Thanks.
I'll keep on working. Thanks for your hard work, man.
Well, that's the end of what I was going to talk about. My updates. Any quick last minute questions before we move on?
No, kudos on the write-ups. They're very helpful, I think.
Cool. Thanks.
I will just say to finish it off, if you guys want to see a model of how people should do the things that I'm setting up, CM Steem seems to know exactly what he's doing with a lot of the stuff, because he posts these wonderful updates. He gives the entire list of what he's going to go over. He documents it so perfectly. It's like, man, I wish that I had more that I could give you, because if everybody followed that, I think it would be really, really helpful for all of us, and that's including me. Okay. So with that said, thank you for everything you're doing, buddy.
No worries.
And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just take a moment to give you guys the link to sign up for the guest book today. I have changed it, at least until I decide otherwise, that I will be giving tokens to people who provide me with a unique email and have a lifetime membership. I would ask you to all consider signing this guest book, though, because you never know when that information is going to become very beneficial to you, for me to have it. You never know, for instance, when share bits might be launched, and I can start passing out tokens through the emails collected here, and so on and so forth. So I would like if all of you would consider signing up. This week's magic word is Eagle, so go ahead and feel free to sign that, fill out that information, and give us the week's magic word, which is Eagle, and that is with a capital E. So with that said, I'll go ahead and I'll move on to the final portion of our Hangout, which is actually me, who's going to be talking a little bit about the proxy campaign that I'm running and the worker proposal website and CMC ad. I am going to try to put a worker proposal together, but since I have resources these days, what I'm planning on doing as a secondary is I would like to have a worker proposal website, a place where anybody can easily go put in a worker proposal. That might be something that's using SVK's work for the GUI interface, or it might be just somebody else doing it. I think I have somebody who's interested in doing it, and I can pay them using upvotes for them to document. However, I think that it would be important for us to consider writing up a worker proposal, and I will gladly help them do this, to get the BitShares ecosystem to try to help reimburse some of it as well. For two reasons. I think A, it looks really bad on us and our governance if Steam ecosystem is always going to be the one that I'm using. But I will also say that we have plenty of funding to give to people who, if they've already accomplished something, I think it's a great idea for the BitShares ecosystem to consider the model of, here, if you've accomplished this, you've already done this, we'll buy it off of you, and then maybe we'll hire you to do more. So with that said, the worker proposal website is part of that. A CMC ad, a CoinMarketCap ad showing that the blockchain is hiring. I received a message back from CoinMarketCap advertising team this week. They said here that our pricing is based on impressions, which it means every time somebody opens up the page and that pops up, that's an impression. And the top banner is $6 per 1,000 impression. So we're talking about 1,000 people going to that site and it pops up. Now they're saying that advertisers usually buy at least 100,000 impressions per day. That gives you an idea of how many people are going daily to CoinMarketCap. This is very important that we recognize this because it is kind of expensive. $6 per 1,000 impressions, that's $600 per day. But if we would do something like a week-long advertisement spree where it's, 100,000 impressions per day for a week, and we do that occasionally just to show, and we already have an easy way to join, like you click on the ad and you go to where you can put in a worker proposal, and then we'll contact you if we think that it's worth it. I think that's a good way of moving forward with it. I would like to hear you guys' thoughts on it, if you guys have any input.
On either of the points?
Yeah, on any of the points. I started out saying the proxy campaign, but I wanted to just skim over that real quick because I want to talk to you about that too.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. If you're talking about the advertising campaign on CoinMarketCap, we've got like 300 million in the reserve pool. We've got to spend it, a small chunk of it. And I think a lot of people don't realize it's more than what like Ethereum Foundation has, and see what they've achieved,
I think it's a great idea, but I would like to see some metrics put in, some way of being able to understand just how much we're going to get back from it. So we want to be able to track the effectiveness of that marketing advertisement. That's one thing that BitCrab's approach didn't have very well defined, and I'd like to see that improved upon.
What it says here is upon request, we'll send impression and click stats for your campaign. So we can receive the statistics and all that stuff, but the biggest statistic that we're going to want to need to look at, in my opinion, would be if we're saying the blockchain is hiring. We want to have a site where A, you don't have to have an account, B, you don't have to pay money. You put it in, you submit the worker proposal, and then we oversee it, and maybe we'll even pay for the worker proposal fee or something. But the statistics, yes. However, in this circumstance, the statistics will be the most important ones, I think, are going to be drawn from doing it one time and seeing how many people actually put in a worker proposal. You know what I mean? Because yes,
Sure.
clicks and impressions are important, but if they don't actually put it in, that kind of tells us something too. But I will also say we should be very careful trying to, because this is how the marketing committee died. We can think ourselves to death on this stuff, guys. Perfection is never going to be attained. I understand the need to consider this stuff, but I also think it's important that we realize that there's probably not going to be a lot of data yet. We've never run a dang ad campaign really that I've seen a bunch of information about, other than a one coin market cap campaign very early on, and it was a completely different campaign, and a completely different time in crypto. Right. So I see where you're coming from. I think that we can get the impressions, the click stats, and then after maybe, a month after a campaign like this, we could probably say, okay, here's what we, come to this hangout and say, this is what we received. This is how many worker proposals we've received since running this campaign, which probably means that we need to have this the site set up and not using CoinMarketCap for a couple weeks beforehand.
You got a good point, Fuzzy, that we can't overthink these things. So I think the trial balloon idea is a good one. I mean, maybe we can, after we do that, we'll have a better feel for what we can measure more effectively than what they give us. So yeah, I'm all in favor.
So we're looking at it looks like $600 a day, about about 4,200 for 7 days. Just a thought, guys. Now, I will say that these are things that I have stake that I can, and having whale shares and all that stuff, we're kind of in between BitShares and Steem, so we can leverage some of that stuff too. I don't mind leveraging some of that. I just want to make sure the community is helping me in return. So with that said, I'll just really quick say that Talkinator's been talking to me a lot about the potential of running these, and I'll of course have no problems being here as well. But he's somebody who's able to deeply look into the code. He's somebody who would be in probably a better position in terms of worker proposals for coding to say this doesn't make sense or this does than I, and I have no qualms saying that. I think it's a sign of strength to show what we don't know. But I also want to say that I would like to see you guys hopefully supporting him as either a proxy or myself as a proxy. If you don't feel comfortable with him yet, that's totally fine. A lot of people know me. They don't know him. I feel very comfortable with Talkinator. But we do need people, either proxies to listen to these hangouts and or attend, or we need the people who are coming to these hangouts to go and try to become proxy. So I have now another person has given me $2 million for proxy voting. If you know other people who are interested in that, I don't care if it's Talkinator or myself. Between the two of us, we will get things voted for. But I do want to let you guys know that I'm planning on running. If Talkinator isn't, then I'll be the only one. If he is, then feel free to vote for him. I'm not going to take offense to any of it.
Well, thank you for the kind words, Fuzzy.
Thank you for deserving, Talkinator.
All right.
I wouldn't say him if you were a problematic human being. I don't see you causing any problems ever. So you seem like a very thoughtful gentleman.
Thanks. You too.
Aw, sweet. I like that. Go tell my mom and my wife, because they seem to be the same these days. Anyway, all joking aside, I do appreciate you guys all joining up. Unfortunately, we did not have time to get into some of the actual the discussion topics for today. I will urge everybody who is part of the BitShares community to reach out to individuals who are proxies, who have voting power and might not be using it. Even if they're proxying it to you and you want to join up and be a proxy here, I want to try to get proxies joining here, because if proxies are joining here, then we're able to show everybody on a show, like a Let's Talk Bitcoin style show, all of the things that are going on, and they can listen every week. And if somebody's spreading FUD about X, Y, and Z, they can come on here and say, oh, that's not FUD. I mean, that is FUD. That's BS. That's total BS. I can even go out and tell that person why, because I know everything that's going on in this. And we can stick to forums, and forums are powerful in their own right. But this medium has been around for a long time for a reason. People talk. This is one of the most efficient ways of communicating and spreading our message. So leverage it, everybody. leverage it. And with that said, we'll see you next week, every Friday at 1 p.m. CST, 1 p.m. UTC, and that is 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. CST. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you.